Buena mañana, mis amigos. I'm your host, Doodleman149, and I'm coming at you with yet another gun workshop for yet another American Marksman Rifle, the Mk2 Carbine. This lever-action rifle fires the 45-70 government rounds at a rate of only 108 rounds per minute, and is capable of getting a one-shot kill to the chest at its closest damage range or a one-shot kill to the head at all ranges. Speaking of that closest damage range, this is where this weapon suffers considerably. The one-shot kill potential to the upper torso is only about 20 meters or so. This is a stark contrast to the base range of the EBR-14, link to that video below. And it really drives home the fact that this is not a sniper. This is barely a mid-range weapon. What this gun actually turns out to be is a close to mid-range deletion machine. When used in its intended ranges and environment, the Mk2 is a devastating weapon. If you're looking for a weapon for longer ranges, however, this is not going to be for you. Honestly, it's kind of a joke that this weapon even has high zoom optics on it. I can't think of a single time I'd choose to run the Mk2 with a sniper scope over any other DMR. Now, I know it sounds like I'm ripping on this gun, but if you've not seen my Golden Guns video, it may surprise you to learn that this is by far my favorite marksman rifle in Modern Warfare. The link to that video is down below, by the way. I cannot really explain why, aside from the very fast handling, that I love this weapon, but it's capable of a one-shot kill and has nearly non-existent recoil. If you know how to use this weapon and you have it kitted correctly, this weapon is a terror. Since this weapon has such a limited range to it, there is really only one build for this gun, however. I don't see any point in kitting it for extreme ranges as it performs terribly beyond mid-range. Without further delay, let's hop right into my best build for my favorite DMR. For the best build of the Mk2 Carbine, I present the Western. This weapon starts off in the barrel section with the 24-inch factory barrel, this weapon's longest barrel, to mostly boost our range while also reducing our recoil. Next, I use the Viper reflex sight since it's my favorite reflex optic. For the stock section, I use the cartridge sleeve for increased starting ammo and increased stability. Next, I use the focus perk for reduced flinch. And lastly, I round this build off with stippled grip tape to mitigate some of the mobility damage done by the longest barrel. The Western is a great build for the Mk2 Carbine as it maintains most of the strengths of the base weapon while extending its range by a relatively great deal. The 24-inch barrel boosts our range from 20 or so meters all the way up to 28. That's a pretty hefty extension for being able to one-tap enemies in the chest. The recoil for this build is also reduced by this, but since this weapon has basically no recoil as it is, there's basically no change. One thing that I notice a lot of people gloss over is the heavy reduction in bullet drop because of this barrel. The Mk2 has a decent bit of bullet drop if you're using it at suboptimal ranges, but this barrel basically eliminates that. It does slow you down a decent bit, so keep that in mind though. The Viper reflex sight can be swapped for any sight you prefer, but as I stated earlier, I don't think high zoom optics are a good idea with this weapon. The cartridge sleeve is an interesting and wholly unique attachment in that it increases aiming stability, something that certainly doesn't hurt with this weapon, while also increasing our base ammo reserves. It basically gives you 6 extra bullets. The focus perk is great since this is primarily a close range fighter, so you'll probably end up taking fire fairly frequently. By reducing your flinch, focus helps you to keep getting on target for those quick eliminations. The stippled grip tape is just another good attachment as it helps offset some of the downsides of this weapon's longest barrel. The Western is best for standard multiplayer. It works alright in some areas of ground war, but I feel it would perform terribly in Warzone. The lower damage and shorter range don't really lend themselves too well to Warzone battles. And that'll do it, everyone, for my coverage of the only lever-action rifle in this game. The Mk2 has some great things going for it. The ADS speed, sprint out speed, strafe speed, and movement speed are all fantastic for a DMR. The fire rate isn't the best, but it's certainly faster than the bolt-action weapons. Where this weapon mostly falls short is by, well, falling short in range. The base one-shot kill for this weapon is abysmally low for a weapon of this category. It's pretty much the same range as the FAL's one-shot headshot range. This weapon is definitely a precision weapon. Only chest and up guarantees a one-shot kill, and since you'll have to be closer to get those, you're either on point or you're dead. I think I initially fell in love with this weapon because it immediately gave me New Vegas vibes. It's certainly stronger than the cowboy rifle from New Vegas, but it feels just as cool. The Western build I offer maintains all the strengths of the weapon while heavily increasing its range. It's a little slower than the base version, but it still feels great to use. If you haven't given this American classic a try, I would certainly do so. It'll take a little getting used to, and you'll definitely have some frustrating deaths while you're getting to grips with the weapon, but once you master it, the enemy will come to fear you. Thank you to everyone who made it this far in the video. I'm glad you all deem me worthy of your time, and I hope all your lives are going great, regardless of what you're getting up to. I know we have a good little community here, so I know that you all deserve the best. Never forget that. I've been your host, Doodleman149. You've all been awesome, and I will see you later.